Considering how awful and devastating 2020 was, I guess I count myself as a pretty lucky guy. Even though I and a bunch of people I know did get sick, none of us were affected by this thing in the long term. Mentally though, things were a bit different. I felt crushed. I planned on starting YouTube around this time for a while. It was a period of my life that I really built up in my head. I romanticized it. A time where I'll be traveling, gathering new experiences, meeting new people. Obviously, didn't really happen. Instead, I was in a room, a tiny little depressing room with 4 walls that drove me insane, that made me feel crushed. Every day I woke up, I ate a lot of food to deal with how I was feeling. I moved on to making frames for videos that honestly I didn't really love. Talked to my now ex-girlfriend knowing deep down that things between us are nearing their end. Every single depressing day was indistinguishable from the last one, as if I was living in a time loop movie. And I know I'm lucky, and I know I should be appreciative of the fact that I didn't have it as nearly as bad as the horrors that other people went through, but still, it sucked. Which is why I was kind of ticked off when I started seeing videos like this.
Get in, loser. We're going to the first lockdown.
I missed the original lockdown.
POV this audio if it was a dance in 2020, ha 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 ha.
Missing 2020's lockdown era, say hello to the absurd 2020 core trend. 2020 core, the hellish new TikTok trend where people wish they were in lockdown again? The sentiment of articles like these is clear. People were suffering, dying, losing their jobs, becoming permanently ill, and you are making a TikTok about how aesthetic that time was? You scumbag. You scumbag child. How dare you? We love to be nostalgic. That part is not new, but what such unadulterated affection for the past, however recent, can do is problematically ignore the troubling realities of the times we remember. Basically, you are going to have to take those rose-tinted glasses off eventually. Okay. But why? I want to delve into this weird world of quarantine nostalgia. How in God's name is this happening? What exactly are the cultural elements of 2020 that people are already feeling nostalgic towards? And how can you ignore the horrible things that happened during that time while romanticizing that era? Does that make you a really horrible person? Or does it kind of make sense? Today's episode is brought to you by AG1 by Athletic Greens. I've been drinking the AG1 for a few weeks now, and honestly, I've been feeling a lot better and healthier in general. It's a nice little powder that you mix with an 8-ounce glass of water. It has so many vitamins, minerals, probiotics, and adaptogens. I went vegan a few months ago, and one of the main things I've been sort of trying to solve is the fact that I want to be a lot healthier as a person, but I also really don't like salads. With AG1, I get all the good stuff I need into my body pretty easily without having to deal with like a huge mountain of lettuce. I also found it to be a very sustainable routine. All it takes is just 1 minute, 1 scoop a day, every day, and my body's better for it. I've been feeling a lot more energetic ever since I've been drinking AG1. If you click on the link in my description, you can get a 1-year supply of immune-supporting Vitamin D3K2 and 5 travel packs for free with your first purchase. Wow, what a sweet deal. And now, back to the video. At the beginning of 2020, Andy Ko had just left his job as an art director in New York and was planning to move to Seoul later that spring. But when the pandemic hit, he found himself hunkered down in his apartment, going through one of the darkest periods of his life. The reality that my plans to move to Korea were upended hit pretty quickly, and it sent me into a bit of a depressive spiral. I lived in a tiny studio apartment, and I spent most of the lockdown at home binging anime with my cat and endlessly scrolling on TikTok. In 2021, Andy did eventually move to South Korea, and upon arrival, he had to quarantine. Stuck again between 4 walls, and the emotions that had triggered were complex. Within this TikTok that has 1.6 million likes, we see Andy staring into his phone screen as memories are flying by behind his eyes. The caption reads, Day one of listening to 2020 TikTok sounds to feel something. You're a bad thing. I know I messed up. I'm just a loser. Obviously, I couldn't play the actual song because I didn't want to get copyright claimed, so Grumbo had to make his own version of it. I did a pretty good job, I think. The sound of this viral TikTok song brings a smile to Andy's face. He's clearly feeling a form of nostalgia, even though the time he's reminiscing about was horrible for him. In the article, he details depressive episodes. He describes how dealing with his recent bipolar diagnosis has sent him into a spiral within these four walls, and yet a smile. A lot of folks resonated with this and started expressing their own feelings of nostalgia. I didn't know I needed this until now. Thank you. Can't tell if I'm feeling nostalgia or PTSD. 78,000 likes. No, literally, it sends me into a panic attack and comforts me at the same time. Me too, friend. Maybe, hopefully, one day, we'll all feel okay. Andy made about 30 of these videos, TikToks, where he's just sitting there, listening to these sounds, reminiscing about the past. I'm not really on TikTok ever, and even though I can't relate to that feeling, even I, as an old, decrepit, 23-year-old man, I was really moved by these comments. What can I say? There's something beautiful about the fact that so many people were moved by this, like, shared experience of a song. What became very clear from these replies is that no one obviously misses the horrifying parts of 2020. They are mainly referring to the little things that they did to cheer themselves up, to keep their heads above water. Pretty similar to how a person might have a nostalgic memory of how a parent cheered them up as they were dealing with the death of a loved one. That doesn't mean that the person is nostalgic for the bad thing itself. It mainly just means that they're, remembering a time where they managed to pick themselves back up in a pretty fun way. Damn, this app was our escape during lockdown, and I think we can all agree on that. The whipped coffee, the banana bread that was everywhere. I get where the article from earlier was coming from. When you stumble upon these videos, you can feel that as if by not addressing the fact that really horrifying stuff was happening during, all these, 2020 core elements, you can feel like that's disrespectful in a way. But I feel like these videos do sort of address that, at least the ones that Andy made. His solemn look carries that weight within it. And I mean, come on, most of these videos were posted in 2021 and 2022, a year and a bit after this all went down. People obviously knew what happened in 2020. No one has forgotten it. The people watching are very clearly addressing it in the replies. When I sat in this room to watch the classic YouTube video, quarantine TikTok videos that make you feel nostalgic, I realized a few things. A, while I'm not actually old, the process of me growing more detached from the youth has officially begun. I don't really know any of these things. I don't get a lot of these jokes. I don't know a bunch of these songs, and my back hurts all the time. And it's the fault of young people. Are people really nostalgic to a video of Charli D'Amelio doing a TikTok dance? I'm confused, and I hate that I'm confused. B, while we already established that people are mainly nostalgic towards the things that they did during that time, the comments under this video kind of specified for me what period of time are we actually talking about. It's mainly right at the beginning of the pandemic. March to April 2020, when people still thought that this is just gonna be a fad. I oddly miss this time last year. Like, does anyone else miss the vibe of the beginning of quarantine? 2020 feels nostalgic because it's a time where everyone's home, and it's oddly peaceful knowing that you're not missing out on anything while being at home and finally being able to take a little break from the fast-paced world. The vibes was just different. I can't explain it. Something that we need to understand is that quarantine was very much its own era with its own cultural elements, and while it did essentially just happen, the really extreme situation that everyone was in led to very different things happening. The fact that everyone was locked up is what made it so definable. Quarantine whipped coffee, the socially distant walks. I can relate to that one. I did do a lot of walks. FaceTimes, online shopping, Kim K, ass and abs workouts. Yeah, did a lot of that. Making TikToks all day, being chefs, and this f***ing song. I know I messed up, I'm just a loser, shouldn't be with you, guess I'm a quitter. Super Lonely by Beanie and Gus Dapperton, and now Grumbo. Almost all the TikToks being nostalgic for early quarantine times featured this song, and it's copyrighted. It is so copyrighted, so you're gonna have to keep hearing my awful rendition of it throughout this entire video, because I'm not losing a single penny over this thing. And you can cry about my horrible singing voice in the comment section as much as you want. I'm not gonna stop. I don't think there's really a need for any explanation about why a song called Super Lonely was one of the biggest things during this time. It's a very catchy song with lyrics that a lot of people could really relate to. This time led to a lot of pandemic-related art. We got pandemic-related movies that were about the whole thing and were made during the whole thing.
Tensions rise as we enter the 213th week of lockdown.
And they sucked. Don't watch most of them. But there are also a bunch of movies that came out during quarantine that actually kind of slapped. One of my favorite rom-coms of all time now is Palm Springs, a movie that came out in 2020. As a big fan of time loop movies and rom-com, a movie that mixes both of these elements seems like, and was, a super fun idea. And considering what was going on at the time, there was something relatable to that, to the time loop concept. You know, a person waking up every single day to the same reality, to the same day. The beauty of these movies, though, is that that's rarely the end. These films are rarely pessimistic. We usually get a moment in these movies that the protagonist thrives within this repetitiveness. They manage to create memorable and exciting moments in their lives within this repeating cycle. I found it to be pretty hopeful at a time like that, to see a movie of two people finding love while stuck in this loop. They got a bunch of quarantine music. I'm just a loser, shouldn't be with you. Okay, Grumbo, relax. Video games became a way bigger part of pop culture. It's not really that surprising that a game like Among Us became as huge as it is. And while, yes, it did ruin a bunch of relationships that I've had with people, that's fine. You know, they can go to hell. It's a very social game that didn't require any sort of, like, experience in video games from beforehand. That's why I got to experience these incredible moments where I'm playing this game with my 50-year-old parents, and my mom is calling me sus and saying that I'm venting. That's incredible, you know? That's never gonna happen again. Minecraft was becoming huge again because all the kids were not going to school. These streamers were breaking world records, getting hundreds of thousands of viewers per stream. It was insane. Animal Crossing is definitely the main game, though, that I see people mentioning when talking about COVID nostalgia in any sort of way. The sheer amount of free time during the day let it so people could just like chill out a little, you know, take some time off, relax with this relaxing game. The cultural impact of this game online cannot be overstated. To this day, I still see memes about it. Every goddamn video on this website features Animal Crossing music to some extent. And you know, for me personally, I never played it. I don't have a Switch, but it looks cool. I want to go back into this article for a second and how weird it feels for me. We love to be nostalgic, that part is not new, but what such an adulterated affection for the past, however recent, can do is problematically ignore the troubling realities of the times we remember. Then they go on to give an example of how the aesthetic of Y2K is making a comeback, low-rise jeans and jelly shoes that are bad for the environment, commanding us at the end to stop thinking that these things are cool and taking off our rose-tinted glasses. I don't really like what this article expects humans to do. Obviously, I'm fully for making decisions that are good for the environment. I'm a really good person, and I love doing good things. But what is this insane standard? What do you really want to happen here? Are you genuinely expecting a person to, I don't know, go to like one of their favorite nearby ethical thrift shops and not buy some cute jeans because of this, because of what you're saying? To think of every single emotional way to every single thing that they do every single time of their day? I don't know. I think that's a bit mean. And if we look at the part of the article that talks about the whole 2020 core thing, I feel like one element that these articles don't really talk about all that much is the fact that most of the people making these TikToks were kids in school when this was all going down. School is a time that many people, I know that I myself, became very nostalgic towards the second it ended for me. The second I stepped out of that place, I already knew that this is a time that's never gonna come back for me. And I thought of all the times, of all the memories I've had, fun times I've had with my friends, parties I went to, little things that we did together. Getting to hang out with my friends on a daily basis is something that was pretty cool about school. And yeah, these kids didn't get to do that. When I finished school, the bad moments in it quickly faded away from my memory, and what I'm left with now mainly is the good stuff, you know, the nostalgia. People who were in school in 2020 and 2021, like Leonardo DiCaprio's new girlfriend, had a very different high school experience to the one that I had. She didn't get to go to fun parties and just like, I don't know, sit around with friends when this was all going down. She had to like be on Zoom and watch her teachers talk about random stuff. Her and her fellow teenagers were in a room, creating memories and experiences from various screens. I'm still quite young, don't want to say my exact age online, but I will say I haven't graduated high school yet, and so I've never really felt the true feeling of nostalgia until now. I feel so nostalgic towards like March, June 2020. I just have all these happy memories of spending all day, every day playing Animal Crossing, watching dumb Animal Crossing and Pokemon YouTube videos, those dumb little videos that make you smile a bit, that talked about how the pandemic is actually a blessing that lets us spend time with our family, those articles about how rapidly the earth was healing, me and my best friend thinking of creative ways to hang out while social distancing. Every time I think about those memories, I get so happy yet so sad. And I think that's what nostalgia is. A person replied with, I got to spend a lot of time with my kids during the beginning too, and I feel like I was given a gift. We played games and cooked and just talked sometimes. I kinda miss it. All the replies from like adults and parents under this post share a pretty similar sentiment. And I think it makes sense. You know, let's say quarantine life is over, you're back doing your 9 to 5, and every single day you're doing a shift for 8 hours. You're away from home. You need to drive to that place, maybe an hour to each direction, maybe less. You are now sitting in front of a desk for so many hours a day, and while yes, you feel horrible for even thinking about it, and yes, you know that things were really bad, you are now aware of the fact that things could be done differently. There was a time in your life where the rat race was put on hold, where you got to spend more time with your hypothetical kids. I don't know why I'm going so strong with the kids analogy, considering most of you are about my age, but we're gonna keep this going. I saw people reminiscing about the fact that they got to experience more silence in the early morning instead of being stuck in like a horrible traffic jam. Reminiscing of the fact that when they were sick, they got to spend 2 weeks at home healing instead of, you know, just taking like a day or two off. We blindly walked back into exactly the lifestyle we had before. The things we said would change have not. Companies still aren't flexible to work-life balance. Everyone is back in the rat race. People got a glimpse of some elements that could be implemented in normal day-to-day life, only to have them be completely forgotten about in most fields of work. The fact that these people are able to look back fondly at that time showcases something a bit sad about now. It made these people realize how much time in a day they usually have no access to. If I force myself to think of early quarantine time with rose-tinted glasses, a few things can come up. You know, I can think about how watching Samurai Champloo in the middle of the night eating bowls of cereal made me feel like a kid again. I can think of how I really enjoyed going on walks in a freakishly empty London. I can think of how I finally got to do my dream job, something that I was fantasizing about since I was 11 finally became my reality. I can think of how during my dark times I was lucky enough to have people to talk to who cheered me up, who made my day. Things happened within those four walls. Art was made, memories were created. Despite our inability to see each other, humans found a way to keep doing their thing. And maybe the fact that within those four walls, we still managed to create experiences to be nostalgic about during such a dark time shows that we're pretty cool, actually. And that's it. Sappiest Pinely ending ever. Make sure to subscribe to this channel all day, every day, and check out my second channel, Evil Pinely. I post twice a week there. It's more lighthearted videos. I also have a Patreon, which is cool. You can support me over there. I post one extra video over there a month, and I also post the Grumbo song, the song that Grumbo did for fun as a treat.